What would you do if your dead ex started texting you, and she knew things only she could know? That was the first thought that crossed my mind when my phone buzzed at 2:14 a.m. I remember the time exactly because I was half asleep, scrolling through Reddit, trying to distract myself from another sleepless night. The breakup had been rough, well, more than rough. Emily and I had been together for almost 3 years before everything went to hell. We'd cut off all contact, and then, 2 months later, she died in a car crash on Highway 49. Or at least, that's what everyone said. So when her name popped up on my phone that night, Emily Broken Heart, my chest tightened. I froze. For a second, I thought maybe I was dreaming. Emily Broken Heart, do you miss me? My thumb hovered over the screen. My heart hammered in my throat. No one had touched her number since the funeral, I was sure of that. Her family had even switched off her phone. I told myself it had to be some sick joke. Maybe someone hacked her account. But I couldn't bring myself to reply. I just stared at the message until the screen went dark. Then came another one. Emily Broken Heart, you shouldn't have left me on that road. I sat up straight. That made no sense. I wasn't even there when the accident happened. She'd been driving alone at night, at least, that's what the police said. My apartment suddenly felt smaller, the air heavier. I turned off my phone, threw it on the nightstand, and buried my face in the pillow. I didn't sleep. The next morning, I tried to convince myself it was a glitch, maybe her old messages were somehow resending. But when I checked my phone, I saw something that made my blood run cold. A new photo. It was a picture of my apartment door, taken from the hallway. I jumped up, ran to the door, and flung it open. The corridor was empty. No one. Just the dim yellow light buzzing from the ceiling. My neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins, peeked out from across the hall, startled. "Everything all right, Nate?" she asked. I forced a smile. Yeah, just thought I heard someone." She frowned. "You look pale, dear. You should get some rest." Rest. Right. Like that was even possible. Later that day, I decided to do something stupid. I texted back. "Me, who is this?" "Emily Broken Heart, you know who." "Me, if this is a joke, it's not funny." "Emily Broken Heart, you promised you'd never forget me." I threw my phone on the couch and rubbed my temples. I wanted to scream. That night, I went through old photos of Emily, her laughing on the beach, her messy handwriting, the way her eyes always looked like they were holding a secret. I missed her, even after everything. But she was gone. I had to move on. Still, something in those messages felt too real. To her. At around midnight, I decided to check her old Instagram. It had been inactive for months. Except, there was a new post. A photo of me. Sleeping. Captioned, "I still watch you." I jumped out of bed, turned on every light in the room, and grabbed a kitchen knife. I searched every corner of my apartment, under the bed, in the closet, even behind the shower curtain. Nothing. Then, as I stood in the middle of the room, my phone lit up again. Another message. "Emily Broken Heart, I told you, you shouldn't have left me there." Attached was a short video clip. I hesitated before opening it. It showed a road at night. Rain pouring. Headlights cutting through the dark. A car swerving. A scream. Then, her voice, whispering softly over the static. "You think you know how I died, Nate, but you don't." The video ended with one final frame, a close-up of her hand reaching toward the camera, wearing my old bracelet. My hands were trembling when I finally lowered the phone. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. That bracelet she was wearing in the video, there was no way anyone else could have known about it. It was a cheap leather strap I bought from a roadside stall on our second anniversary. The edges were cracked, the clasp half broken. I'd given it to her when we were fighting that night, just before she stormed off. That was the last time I saw her alive. I remember that night like it happened yesterday, the rain pouring hard against the windshield, Emily shouting that I never listened, and me gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. She wanted to go back to her apartment, but I dropped her off on that lonely stretch of Highway 49 instead. I'd told myself she'd be fine. It was only a few miles from her place. I didn't know she'd never make it home. Now here I was, staring at a video that looked like it had been filmed that exact night, from her point of view. The sound of distant thunder echoed outside my window, and for a second, I thought I heard something else underneath it, a faint whisper. I turned off my phone, trying to shake the unease creeping up my spine. It was probably some sick prank. Someone could have faked that video, maybe downloaded footage from the crash and added my bracelet digitally. That was possible, right? But then again, who would go that far? The following day, I skipped work and drove out to Highway 49. I hadn't been back there since the accident. The air was heavy, thick with the smell of wet earth. I parked near the curve where she'd supposedly lost control. The guardrail was still bent inward, scarred by the impact. Someone had left wilted flowers by the side of the road, probably her mother. I crouched down and touched the metal, feeling the cold seep into my skin. That's when I noticed something that made my stomach twist. There were faint scratch marks on the guardrail, not random scrapes, but letters. Someone had carved them roughly into the metal. "Nate, help me." My heart stopped. I stumbled backward, shaking my head. It had to be a coincidence. Maybe a trick of my imagination. Maybe I was losing my mind. But then my phone buzzed again. "Emily Brokenheart, you came back." I dropped the phone onto the asphalt. My pulse was racing so hard it hurt. I glanced around, half expecting to see someone hiding behind the trees. There was no one. Just silence. "Emily Brokenheart, don't leave again." The screen flickered, and suddenly the text field filled itself without me touching it. Like someone was typing from the other side. "You left me to die." My throat went dry. "I didn't," I whispered to no one. "I didn't know you." Before I could finish, the phone slipped from my shaking hands and landed face down in the mud. The vibration stopped. The only sound was the low hum of cicadas. I got back into my car and started driving, my fingers trembling on the steering wheel. The rain started again, just like that night. The same road, the same smell, the same eerie silence between the drops. I could almost see her beside me in the passenger seat, staring out the window, not saying a word. When I finally reached home, I was drenched and exhausted. I threw my wet jacket on the couch and collapsed into the armchair. The lights flickered once, then steadied. My reflection in the dark window stared back at me, hollow, pale, terrified. I told myself it was over. I'd block the number, get a new phone, maybe even see a therapist. But as I was reaching for my phone to delete the messages, I noticed something new on the screen, a draft message already typed, waiting to be sent. I hadn't written it. It said, "I'm sorry for leaving you that night." And before I could react, the send button clicked by itself. Seconds later, the reply came through. "Emily Brokenheart, I forgive you, Nate. But you still have to come back. I'm waiting where it all ended." For hours, I just sat there in silence, staring at that message, "I'm waiting where it all ended." Those words repeated in my mind like a curse, twisting tighter with every heartbeat. The apartment felt heavier than ever, as though someone else was breathing in the same room. The shadows seemed longer, darker. Every creak of the floorboards made me flinch. I knew I should have ignored the text, blocked the number, done something rational. But there was something inside me, a gnawing guilt I had buried deep for a year, that now clawed its way to the surface. By 3 a.m., I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my keys and jacket and headed out into the night. The city was silent, the streets slick from a light drizzle. As I drove, the rhythmic sound of the wipers against the windshield started blending with my heartbeat. My thoughts kept spiraling back to Emily, her laughter, her anger, that night. I remembered how she'd screamed at me on the side of the road, how her mascara ran down her face, and how I'd driven off because I couldn't handle another fight. Now, that road was calling me back like a grave whispering my name. When I reached Highway 49 again, it was just past 4 a.m. The fog was thick, swallowing everything more than a few feet away. My headlights cut through it weakly, revealing the same bend, the same dented guardrail, the same bouquet of dead flowers lying in the dirt. I parked a few feet away, engine idling, hands gripping the steering wheel. That's when I saw her. A silhouette, standing near the guardrail, completely still. The fog curled around her like a shroud. My breath caught. For a second, I thought it was just my mind playing tricks, but then she moved, slow, deliberate, her head turning toward my car. "Emily," I whispered without thinking. I stepped out, every nerve in my body screaming not to. The cold air hit me like ice, and I could see my breath in the darkness. As I took a few cautious steps forward, the figure became clearer. She was wearing the same red jacket she'd worn that night, the one I'd found torn and bloodied after the crash. Her hair was matted, wet, sticking to her face. And though the fog distorted her features, I could see her eyes, hollow, glimmering faintly like two dying embers. "Nate," her voice drifted through the mist, faint but unmistakable. "You came back." My knees nearly buckled. "This isn't real," I said, my voice shaking. "You're gone. You died." Her head tilted slightly, almost curious. "You think I don't know that?" Every instinct screamed for me to run, but I couldn't move. It was like something invisible anchored me there. The air around her shimmered slightly, like heat waves rising from asphalt. "You left me that night," she said softly, stepping closer. Her movements were slow, unnatural, like something trying to remember how to walk. "You didn't even look back, Nate." I didn't know." "You never looked back." The sound of her voice was layered, as if a dozen whispers spoke beneath it. The closer she came, the colder the air grew until I could see frost forming along the metal guardrail. My phone buzzed in my pocket, breaking the trance for a second. I glanced at the screen, another message. "Emily Brokenheart, it's not me you should be afraid of." I looked up, but she was gone. The fog in front of me was empty, swirling in silence. I turned in every direction, panic gripping my chest, until I heard something, footsteps. Slow, heavy, coming from behind me. I spun around. Nothing. Just the faint hum of my car engine in the distance. Then, another buzz. "Emily Brokenheart, he's still here." Before I could make sense of it, my car headlights flickered, once, twice, and then went completely dark. The engine sputtered to silence. The entire stretch of road fell into pitch-black darkness. That's when I heard breathing. Not mine, deeper, rougher. Coming from the fog right behind me. That breathing, low, guttural, human, froze me in place. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but my legs refused to obey. The air around me had gone ice cold, the kind of cold that seeps into your bones and makes your teeth chatter even if you're not shivering. I turned slowly, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. The fog was dense, curling in slow waves around the bend of the road. For a moment, I thought I saw something move within it, something tall, darker than the night itself. "Who's there?" I shouted, my voice cracking. My words vanished into the mist without echo. No answer, just that same, rhythmic breathing, as if whoever, or whatever, it was, didn't care if I knew it was there. Then, suddenly, a faint light flickered near the guardrail. My phone screen. It had slipped from my pocket when I turned earlier, and now it was lying face up in the mud. The glow was weak, but enough to cast trembling shadows on the asphalt. I took a cautious step forward, reaching for it. Before I could touch it, a heavy hand clamped onto my shoulder. I spun around so fast I nearly fell. But no one was there. Just the fog again, empty, endless. The pressure of that unseen grip lingered on my skin like frostbite. My throat went dry as my mind raced for an explanation. Maybe it was panic. Maybe exhaustion. Maybe I was losing my mind. Then, my phone buzzed again. "Emily Brokenheart, don't turn around." A chill rippled through my entire body. I froze mid-breath, staring at the glowing screen in my trembling hand. My mind screamed questions. Don't turn around? Why? Who's behind me? But I didn't dare look. I felt warmth on the back of my neck, like someone was standing inches away, exhaling slowly. Another buzz. Emily broken heart, he can smell fear. I could feel my pulse hammering in my throat. Emily, what's happening? I whispered into the darkness. The next message appeared instantly, as if she'd been waiting. Emily broken heart, he's the one who killed me. My lungs stopped working. For a second, the world went quiet. I turned before I could stop myself, heart exploding in my chest, and the fog split like a curtain. There was a figure standing in the middle of the road. He wasn't moving. Just standing there, facing me. The headlights of my dead car faintly illuminated him, a man in a torn flannel shirt, soaked and dirty, his head tilted slightly downward so I couldn't see his face. His clothes looked old, as if he'd been buried in them. His arms hung at his sides, and his fingers twitched faintly, dripping water onto the ground even though the rain had stopped. My voice came out barely a whisper. Who are you? No answer. He just took a step forward. Then another. I stumbled back, fumbling for the car door handle. It wouldn't open. My keys were still in the ignition. The fog thickened around us like smoke. The figure stopped a few feet away. Then, in a voice that sounded like two people speaking at once, one deep and guttural, the other high and distorted, he said, "You shouldn't have come back." Before I could react, every window of my car shattered inward at once, spraying glass everywhere. The sound was deafening. I screamed and dropped to the ground, covering my head. When I looked up again, the man was gone. Just the fog. Just silence. My phone buzzed again, lighting up with one final message from Emily. Emily broken heart, he wasn't supposed to find you. Then, my phone went black. I scrambled to my feet, trembling uncontrollably, and sprinted back toward the car. The engine wouldn't start. Every time I turned the key, it clicked uselessly. I slammed my hand against the steering wheel and screamed, the sound raw and desperate. When I looked up through the cracked windshield, I saw her again, Emily, standing a few yards ahead, on the opposite side of the road. She wasn't moving. Her eyes were fixed on me. And then, she slowly raised her hand and pointed toward the woods behind me. Something was moving there. Fast. Branches cracked, heavy footsteps echoed closer, and I caught a glimpse of that same dark figure rushing toward the car. I barely had time to scream before the entire vehicle shook violently as if something massive had slammed into it. And then, everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was staring at a cracked windshield. My ears were ringing, the kind of deep, hollow hum that makes the world feel far away. The car was tilted to one side, half buried in a ditch. My hands were sticky with blood, though I couldn't tell if it was mine. Every muscle ached, my head throbbing in sync with my heartbeat. The night was quiet now. Too quiet. Even the crickets had stopped. I tried to move, but the seat belt was jammed. After a few panicked tugs, I managed to rip it free and stumble out of the car, gasping for air. My breath came out in harsh, white clouds. The fog had lifted slightly, but the air still felt heavy, suffocating. My phone lay on the ground beside the car, screen cracked but faintly glowing. Somehow, it had survived the impact. I picked it up with shaking fingers. One new message blinked across the shattered display. Emily broken heart, you're close now. I swallowed hard. My throat burned, my heart pounding so fast it felt like my chest might split open. Close to what? I whispered, but no reply came. The road was empty. The woods stretched out on both sides, endless, black, silent. And yet, I felt watched. That same dread from before coiled inside me. My mind screamed for me to get back in the car, try to restart it, go anywhere but here. But some deeper instinct, some pull I couldn't resist, made me turn toward the trees. Emily's voice, faint, trembling, echoed through the fog. Nate. It was her. Not from the phone this time. Not in my head. Behind me. I turned slowly, and there she was again, standing at the edge of the woods, pale and dripping, eyes glinting like glass in the faint light. Her red jacket was torn, soaked through, and her hair clung to her face. She looked both alive and dead, like someone halfway between two worlds. "Emily," my voice cracked. "What do you want from me?" Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Then, she lifted a shaking hand and pointed deeper into the forest. "You left me there," she said, her voice breaking. "But he didn't." I frowned. "He? Who?" Before she could answer, a rustle came from behind her. A shadow moved between the trees, tall, broad, and impossibly still. I could feel its eyes before I even saw them. Two dull, amber glows in the darkness. The same figure from before. I took a step back, fear rising like bile. "Emily, run!" But she didn't move. Instead, she turned toward the darkness, and whispered, "It's time you remember." Then, the world around me changed. The fog thickened until I couldn't see the trees or the road. My ears filled with static. My phone's screen flashed violently, images flickering across it like a broken film reel, headlights, rain, screaming, spinning metal, shattered glass. My head throbbed harder with every flash until I dropped to my knees, clutching my temples. And then, I remembered. It wasn't her who had been driving that night. It was me. The argument. The rain. The shouting. I had been the one behind the wheel. She begged me to slow down, to stop, but I was too angry, too drunk to listen. The car swerved. She screamed my name, and then everything went black. When I woke up, I was sitting beside her body, the car smoking on the side of the highway. Her hand was cold. Her eyes open. And instead of calling for help, I ran. I left her there. I told the police she'd taken my car and crashed alone. I buried the truth. Now, standing on that same road, staring at her ghost, it all came back like a wave that crushed every breath in my chest. "I'm sorry," I whispered, tears streaming down my face. "Emily, I'm so sorry." She looked at me, really looked, and for a moment, her expression softened. Then, she nodded slowly and said, "I know." Behind her, the figure stepped forward, emerging fully from the shadows. I could see his face now, hollow eyes, torn flesh, twisted features that looked too human and too wrong all at once. But when he spoke, it was my voice. "You left me to die." My knees buckled. The figure wasn't her killer. The figure was me. The part of me that never left that road, that night, the guilt, the cowardice, the monster I became when I chose to run. Emily reached out her hand. "It's time to finish it," she whispered. The fog swirled violently, the ground trembling beneath my feet. I felt weightless for a second, then a searing pain tore through my chest. The sound of metal crunching, glass shattering, her scream, all of it hit me at once. I gasped, choking on air that felt too thick to breathe. When the fog cleared, I was sitting in the driver's seat again. The dashboard clock read 2:14 a.m., the same time I'd received her first message. My phone buzzed one last time. "Emily, broken heart, it's over now." The screen went dark. Headlights appeared in the distance, a passing car slowing as it approached the wreck. I saw a man inside, dialing his phone, shouting for help. I wanted to call out to him, to tell him I was alive, but I couldn't move. My body was still, my eyes fixed on the shattered windshield. The reflection staring back at me wasn't breathing. Somewhere in the fog, Emily's voice whispered softly, almost tenderly. "You didn't just leave me, Nate, you left yourself." And then, everything faded to silence.